Welcome to the Freedom Family. We're going to talk about abortion today, official stance of our organization, Freedom Families United. You can find us at freedomfamiliesunited.com. But we have very few official stances. In fact, less than a dozen official stances of our organization. And this wasn't going to be the first one that we discussed, but due to circumstances, we were speaking to family members and had some comments come up in our comments section. And obviously, Roe v. Wade here was recently overturned. And we live in the state of New Mexico, which is the late-term abortion capital of the nation, actually the world, because the United States already has the most extreme abortion laws in the world. So that kind of became our first issue here, and our stance is not that radical, I would say. In fact, the official stance of Freedom Families United operates entirely in what I consider the extreme black and white of the situation. And I know there's a lot of gray and messy, and you might laugh and scoff to say that there's black and white in the abortion argument, but I assure you there's plenty of it, and we want to get into that. So let's jump into the comments that we got and discuss a little bit about these comments that were directed at us and in general, just questions that we found on our YouTube channel.
Okay, so one of our commenters says, "My thinking on abortion. Nobody and nothing has the right to use the resources of your body against your will. Even an intelligent being who would die if they were deprived of your resources. Suppose you find yourself tethered to someone, perhaps the smartest or most consequential person in the world, with their blood running into your body for cleaning in your liver and your clean blood running into their body. I think you have the absolute right to disconnect from them, even if they'll die as a consequence."
In that scenario, I do agree. In that specific scenario, it might be immoral, but I think the government stepping in and stopping them from disconnecting would be wrong in that scenario. So freedom and bodily autonomy are extremely high values, and that's why the argument exists and why there is gray area in abortion. And our personal stances are probably much more restrictive than what we would talk about officially with Freedom Families United. But the scenario is also BS because there were actions taken to conceive a baby. It didn't just magically happen, right? We're not talking about any of the corner cases or all these other scenarios people like to bring up when they talk about this. And we'll talk about how so many people are terrible at arguing abortion and how you actually should debate and argue abortion in any argument whenever you're arguing it. But
Also, in that scenario, you have two supposedly intelligent human beings, two individuals, both who have rights, who can both decide and speak for themselves, whereas a baby absolutely cannot. They are the most innocent among us, and yes, we believe that life clearly begins at conception. If you do nothing after that life has began to grow, it will become a person, a human being with rights.
yeah, it's clearly life.
The baby's DNA is completely unique from that of the mother's at the moment of conception.
Yeah, and even if you take a baby boy, right, you have X and Y chromosomes in every cell in that baby boy's body. The only time that mother's going to have those cells inside of her body, mother obviously having two X chromosomes. Mm-hmm. So it's clearly a unique life form, but again, still, you could argue it's a gray area when you bring freedom and bodily autonomy into it. So but he does go on.
He says that even if you have a signed contract between those two individuals in that scenario, there will surely be penalties for breaking it, but breaking it must be possible.
And of course, we agree with this far-fetched scenario, but if you have that signed contract with them, you still should be allowed to let them die. Whether it's a moral choice or not, that's not the question. The question is, they're hooked to your body, you have bodily autonomy and freedom.
But he's talking about disconnecting life support from another life form, right? But a baby, again, did not choose to be connected.
So disconnecting, nothing more. And even if we disagree on a personal level, this is still not an extreme view yet. This isn't a person that I would completely not have anything morally in common with.
Then he goes on.
Of course.
What about viable fetuses, which could be extracted and sustained in incubators? To me, the value of human life is in our intelligence and our consciousness, not simply the fact that we have human DNA. This value would extend to intelligent aliens and AI, should we encounter them. A proto-human developing in the womb, even at later stages, does not have these properties. It's far less intelligent and aware of itself and its surroundings than the animals we regularly kill, often in brutal ways, for food or sport. Thus, I'd leave the choice to the doctor, patient, and society. Do what the patient wishes, with focus on the health of the patient and consideration of whether the society is willing to bear the significant costs of NICU care, which could be used to improve the lives of existing children and adults.
Yes, because the monetary burden is clearly what the problem is. The cost of NICU care.
And again, but it goes back to them arguing group rights over individual rights, leaving it to society to choose.
Exactly. And so if we talk about the official stance of Freedom Families United, that's where this comes in. The official stance is where this black and white idea comes in, where it's clear-cut murder, clear-cut infanticide. When you have two options, you say, we can take the baby out and it'll live, or we can kill the baby and take it out. So at that point of viability, it is very clear-cut murder. And we have tons of states now pushing for this late-term abortion here in the United States. And I'm going to give a graphic image warning coming up here soon, and also graphic audio. So you're warned here that as soon as we're pulling this up.
So imagine at viability, I go in and I'm a pregnant woman and I say to my doctor, I want this baby out of me. And he says, okay, we'll take it out of you. And I say, no, you have to kill it first. He says, no, we'll take it out of you.
Yeah.
We'll just deliver it and you won't have to worry about the baby. We'll find placement or whatever.
Delivery, C-section, whatever, especially for a preemie baby, right? They're tiny.
We're saying these people are arguing that you can say, no, I want you to kill it first, even when you can deliver it. And it would be a viable human life, an American citizen with rights.
So this is called women's rights. The doctor's saying, no, we'll just take it out of you. No, you have to kill it first. It's my right. That's clearly disgusting. And so let's pull up some images here of what it looks like. A 23-week-old fetus is even a little bit after the point of viability. I believe 22, 21 weeks maybe it could be pushed
even
back
a little earlier.
So let's pull this up. And this is what is actually entails in a late-term abortion. A 23-week-old fetus is just barely over a pound. Barely over a pound. So you're talking about a tiny baby. To C-section or deliver that would be very low impact. And to say that, no, we have to kill it first before you bring it out, because that's called women's rights. And don't take my word for it. Let's hear it from the mouth of a recovering abortion doctor.
A DNA procedure is a blind abortion, so picture yourself introducing this and grabbing anything you can blindly and pull, and I do mean hard, and out pops a leg about that big, which you put down on the table next to you. Reach in again, pull out an arm about the same length, which you put down on the table next to you, and use this instrument again and again to tear out the spine, the intestines, the heart and lungs. Head on the baby that size is about the size of a large plum. Can't see it, but you've pretty good idea you've got it if you've got your instrument around something and your fingers are spread about as far as they go. You know you did it right if you crush down on the instrument and white material runs out of the cervix. That was the baby's brains. Then you could pull out skull pieces. And you have a day like I had a lot of times. Sometimes the little face comes back and stares back at you. Congratulations, you just successfully performed a second trimester DNA abortion. You just affirmed your right to choose.
Oh.
So if that doesn't make you nauseous, I really don't know what would. And even more disgusting than this is the infamous birth canal abortion. This is where, as it's coming out, you sever and kill the baby right before it comes out. So you've delivered it and already done everything else, and you're not even dismembering it. A lot of times this is like actually in delivery. So extremely disgusting. And this horrific image is a woman protesting after Roe v. Wade's being overturned, clearly 8 to 9 months pregnant. On her stomach there, if you can't see it, she has written, "Not yet a human." And got her other child right there. Just think about that. Think about the cognitive dissonance going on in her brain to be able to hold these thoughts in her head. Has a baby, 8 to 9 months pregnant. She knows exactly what what's in her stomach, can feel it kicking constantly, and still completely in denial.
And according to that gentleman's comment on our video, and we've heard lots of these comments where it depends on their intelligence. She's clearly holding what looks like a 1 to 2 year old there. What is the intelligence of a toddler? What is the intelligence of a lot of other individuals?
Let's dive into how people are debating this so incorrectly. People suck at debating abortion, and people on the right suck at debating it because they get distracted. They will bring in so many different things, and what the thing that you have to do is really clearly define that line, especially when you have a large audience. You might be on social media, wherever it is, but throw out all the corner cases and everything else, and actually talk to people and say, at what point is it a baby? At what point is a person? Really drill down and force them to accept that. I had this debate with somebody at work, and actually got him to admit that he thought about 22 weeks it was a baby and it was clear-cut murder. And then I asked him how he could possibly vote for people that would be in favor of that here in New Mexico. They're very in favor of late-term abortion. And he kind of came back to me and said, well, I think it's about population control, which I thought he was joking, but he wasn't. It kind of ruined our relationship there, I believe. But this kind of, you have to stick at that point of saying, like, when is it a baby? And then after that point, you get them to accept that. And then from there, you can actually take and have a deeper discussion later on after people have accepted this, drawn a clear line in their head of when it is black and white, clear-cut murder, and then you can work from that point forward.
Because you have to get them to consider the humanity, right? Because like our commenter, again, they dehumanize you. He compared human babies to aliens, to AI, and to animals. So you're completely taking the human aspect of it. So you have to drill down that point and get those individuals to admit, when is it a human being that has rights?
And he said that it depended on their intelligence, which is completely in support of eugenics, right? That's what Hitler, and I guess Hitler actually pulled those ideas from American scientists of eugenics. But if you're mentally disabled, does that also mean that your life is less than?
Right. If you're autistic or have Down syndrome, Down syndrome individuals, like they're saying they cured it in Iceland. They're trying to get rid of Down syndrome through abortion.
Yep, that's how they cured it. They test and then they say, oh, this child is at risk. Let's end the life. And that's their cure. That's not a cure. That's called murder.
No, it's devaluing human life.
And devaluing human life has not really gone well throughout history. In fact, it's led to the death of hundreds of millions in modern history, hundreds of millions of individuals. In all of history, probably way beyond that, but mass genocides.
Well, and if you look at just abortion alone, over 63 million babies have been aborted.
In the U.S.
Yeah, in the U.S. since Roe v. Wade.
And that's 63 million lives that were ended. 63 million doctors, scientists, inventors. We don't know what these people would have turned into. Yes, some of them criminals and things like that. And they would add children of their own. We have no idea what we gave up when we destroyed all of those lives.
But ultimately it was those individuals' choices to choose what they were going to turn out to be, right? They were American citizens whose lives were snuffed out.
And there is a clear point at which it is murder, and Freedom Families United will be fighting for life everywhere that we can when it comes to these people that want to fight up to having these abortions up to the point of birth canal abortions, and even talking about, if it's botched and we meant to abort it and it comes out on the table, then we're going to just let it die on the table or just finish the job right there on the table. Yes, these are real conversations that have been had in political circles. Yes, these are real audio clips you can go out and find. It is completely wrong in every way, shape, and form. And we recently had a discussion with one of my family members who, I kind of sideswiped me because they're a religious family member. They said they didn't think it was an issue. There was an issue in their brain of somebody they would vote for or not vote for if they support late-term abortions, because if somebody wants to kill their baby, then they would find a way to do it.
They even said if somebody wanted to kill their kid, they would do it.
Yeah, and so I just kind of thought this was wrong because we are supposed to be voting our morals first and foremost. And I can think of no higher moral than being against infanticide. And to me, that would be the basis of, if you're going to have any morality, saying, we're not going to murder babies. That's a pretty good start to your morals. And if we use that same logic, then why do we even have laws on murder or rape?
Right, because if they're going to murder somebody, they're going to do it anyway. So why should it be illegal? Why do we have any laws?
Yep. And if those laws don't really stop abortions, then let's talk about this article from the Washington Post. This is the last article that we're going to talk about here.
So this Texas teen wanted an abortion, but now she has twins because she, this girl kind of tells her love story. Anyway, her name is Brooke. She found out she was pregnant late on the night of August 29th, 2 days before the Texas Heartbeat Act banned abortions once an ultrasound can detect cardiac activity, so a heartbeat. Around 6 weeks of pregnancy, it was the most restrictive abortion law to take effect in the United States in nearly 50 years.
And the Washington Post was trying to write this piece as kind of a hit piece against people that anti-abortion, pro-life people, and it ends up being a very pro-life article because they're sitting here talking about how this woman here's the babies. They're showing these two babies, like, oh, she could have had the chance to kill these babies. She wouldn't have to have all this extra responsibility here.
Like it was so difficult on her to not be able to get that abortion quickly, and now she's got these two kids.
And so if you're saying laws don't stop abortion, well, this woman didn't all of a sudden determine she was going to end this pregnancy herself. And this myth that there was all these back alley, coat hanger type abortions and so many women dying is just that, a myth. It's BS. There's no data to actually back that up. Those are made up figures, and there's nothing to support that was happening and women were dying at this massive rate. But they just show these beautiful babies, these twins that were born and saved because they were able to push the abortion limit back in their state. And here they are out and about, bringing their babies everywhere. So it just turns into this really pro-life piece, and it's hilarious because the Washington Post, that's not what they were going for, and it just completely backfired because, unfortunately, when you actually look into abortion, no matter when you actually dive in and argue it at a personal level, there's no way to see it but as a pro-life stance.
Well, and it's funny
pro-life.
too because in the article, right, so these two that had only been dating for like 3 months, they end up getting married. He joins the military and they start growing up. He was just going to work at a restaurant and like skateboard for the rest of his life. He was like looking forward to being like the skater, and instead he grew up and now he's a dad and he has responsibilities, and it's like that's not a bad thing.
Even I love the way they end the article here because they're kind of lamenting what they could have been doing if they didn't have these babies burdening them down.
Okay. If it wasn't for the Texas law, Brooke knew she might not be standing here. She'd probably be studying for her next exam while Billy mastered some new trick on the quarter pipe. She liked to think they'd still be together, spending their money on movie tickets and Whataburger instead of diapers and baby wipes.
But I love this next part because even they had to put this in here that it was positive in the end.
She told herself that alternate life didn't matter anymore. She had 2 babies she loved more than anything else in the world.
And so I think that we transfer values from us to our children, and that's what Freedom Families United is really about. Uniting communities, meeting weekly in person, and transferring these values. And to me, there is really no stronger place that we see values collide with politics than in this debate on late-term abortions. And especially in the state of New Mexico, we've already been fighting back. We've already been going to rallies and fighting back against late-term abortion. We plan on continuing to do that and getting this limits pushed back. And if you look at the actual laws, if you go up to say we want bans on any abortions past even 15 weeks, there is about 70% of the population in the United States that supports restrictions on abortions before 15 weeks, or after 15 weeks. And here in the state, we have a governor's race where the governor has openly declared war against late-term abortion and plans on pushing the limit back to 15.
The
governor candidate, yes.
Mark Ronchetti.
Mark Ronchetti. So we are going to be sort of supporting that as an organization, and we're going to be having our first official meeting here in person on the 28th here in the Albuquerque branch, and other branches starting all around the United States soon after that. So if you can go to freedomfamiliesunited.com and sign up and support us over there, we'd love to see everyone over there.
Yep, join us and fight for life among many other important family issues.
In the meantime, stay free.